And a pleasant good morning, everybody, and welcome to Pattison Ave Phanatics show. I am James Scorza filling in for TK once again this week, and with me, as always, is the group of companions on the anniversary of our 5-year Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl championship run, Joey Marks.
You will not hear the new normal come from my mouth.
Say no more. Damon Salim, what's going on, my friend?
Good morning, my friend. Happy Saturday, everybody.
Happy Saturday. We got a lot to get to on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Like I said, the Eagles are preparing for Super Bowl 57 against the Chiefs. Sixers continue to dominate. They won last night convincingly. I guess you could say a scheduled win on the schedule last night against San Antonio. Philly's pitchers and catchers are halfway. Exactly, I think 2 more weeks until pitchers and catchers report, and the Flyers are on the All-Star break. So, Joey, you're the man of the hour. Where do we begin on this Saturday morning?
Well, we're going to go west, young man, and we're going to remember the Alamo. We're going to go to the 76ers, who faced off against the San Antonio let's build it again kind of Spurs. Last night was an interesting game in a couple different fronts, and I mentioned this the other week on the show. I said, I don't understand who made this schedule. They go from Philly to San Antonio, back east. It's like, okay, that's like the most asinine thing ever.
It is.
So I wanted to first start with, I wanted to know how you guys felt with one of the big pieces of news, and it was kind of put out there on the the televised broadcast last night. How do you guys feel about this All-Star game selection process? Damon, I know you got a lot to say about this, so fire away.
It's interesting. Obviously, I wasn't happy about Joe not being a starter, and I knew he was going to be the reserve. I thought hard, and I thought that he was going to be a reserve, but Doc said something interesting last night in his pregame with Tom McGinnis. He's like, look, we're in the 2 seed. This guy leads the league in assists, and he should be an all-star. It's funny because I looked at the list a few times. At first, I was like, I'm okay with it. But then I had to look again. I go, wait a second. You had 2 teams that have within the top 5 or 6 that have 2 players. I think if they go back to establishing the category of center and not just front court, that would definitely help a lot of things. But I try not to get too worked up about it. But it does. But I will say this as a fan of the sport, and now because he's a Sixer, I don't like the fact that Harden was snubbed. Harden deserves to be an All-Star.
Yeah,
I agree.
James, how do you feel about the process?
Yeah, it's like what Dame said. It is interesting when you really think about it. I think the one thing that really bothers me about it, it's kind of like with Rodney Dangerfield. We get no respect. As I'm waiting for puns to come out of it, Joel Embiid pulling puns out and waiting for everybody to be dressed up in ties and just ready to go on a Shapiro about it, how much he's getting no respect. But the thing about it too, it is interesting, like you said there, Dame. I think the one thing that really bothers me about it is that it's just like Kevin Durant hasn't played maybe until the first couple weeks of the season, and then Joel Embiid, who's basically the most valuable player, but then again, or you can say the most participant player of the, you know what I mean? But yeah, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they don't respect Philly as much as anybody else, to say the least.
Well, a buddy of mine and I had a conversation last night. We watched the game together, and he brought up the fact that Zion's even in the All-Star game, and he's only played 12 games this season. So
how is that possible?
Take what from that what you want. Pull from that what you want. Now, I'm going to put the power in our hands. Because I honestly feel like that's where the voting and the selection should be. Dame, I want you to give me your starting 5 for your All-Star team. Current
in the East?
Doesn't matter. Yes, we'll do the East. I mean, for them, it doesn't matter. because they can pick
the
East
match.
or West.
Right, they mix that. That's the other thing that's funny to me.
Yeah.
They have this voting system. They vote for the East All Stars and they vote for the West All Stars, and then they wind up not playing each other. They just mix and match. So, this year's starters definitely would be Joe. I definitely would have to put Tatum on there. Mm-hmm. Tatum's from playing at the All Star level. Giannis, I would have to put Giannis up there. So that's 3. I guess with my guards, I could go Donovan Mitchell comes to mind. I could go Kyrie, but I know he missed some games too. So it's a bit of a toss up, but I could definitely throw Harden in there. So give me Joe, Tatum, Giannis. I'll go Harden and Donovan Mitchell. How about that? That's my 5.
James.
I guess I'll go. Like I said, I'll go with Joel and James as the 2 All Stars. I gotta go with Jalen Brunson. I think he's been phenomenal.
Ooh.
I think he's been really good. I think I'll go with Brunson, Tatum, and let's see. Where am I at? 4?
Yeah, that's 4.
I'm at 4. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll go with I don't want to put Kyrie Irving on there because he's basically hasn't played a lot. I guess I'll go with Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
So my 5 would be Embiid and Harden.
Mm-hmm.
My other guys would be Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
I would also do Donovan Mitchell, but then I would also do Trae Young.
Oh, I forgot about Trae Young. There you go.
Trae Young.
Okay. So my backcourt would be like Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell because for me it would be like, okay, they're just gonna shoot like between Harden, Mitchell, and Trae Young.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be like bombs away from the 3-point line.
Wait, we forgot Tyrese Maxey. I forgot about Tyrese Maxey.
Well, see,
he missed some time.
Here's my feeling with Tyrese.
Thought about it, though.
This is a guy. And if he doesn't, it's an indictment on the NBA.
It is.
If he doesn't become, by the end of his career, a 10-time All-Star, there's a problem with this league. Serious. I mean, there already is a problem with this league. But
Definitely.
That's beside the point. So we're coming up on the NBA trade deadline, and we kind of have discussed in prior shows about what the possibilities of that trade deadline could be. And we could still put it in that same structure. But I'm going to ask this question, whether it's the trade deadline or buyout, which of the people on the Sixers currently would you trade or buy out? Dame?
Actually, I wouldn't move anyone, but last night I'm wondering if they're going to move House Jr. because he got some extended minutes. And that's sometimes a sign before the trade deadline because he hasn't played in, it might have been a month in the sun, man. It's been a minute that he's gotten some time on the court. And
I think they said the Clippers game was the last time he played.
Okay, and that might have been because we might have been up. So, I mean, that would be the only one for me. People are still talking about this backup center position. I'm like, would you get over it already? It's like we're okay there. Like, so, and I know you just asked about who would I move. I definitely want to see them get someone to stop that penetration in deep in the downhill on them defensively. Someone that can get up on these guys a little bit more. So
yeah, we're gonna get into. I got a couple names that I want to get people take on.
Sounds good.
James,
yeah, but I wouldn't move any right now. For me, nobody I would move or buy out. I just like what they have.
Right. James, is there anybody you would move or trade?
I guess I would say Furkan Korkmaz. I think he hasn't seen a lot, but I think Darnell House is a really good piece that you can trade away too. So I think if you can you can trade away House and buy out probably Korkmaz.
That's a good one, James. Speaking of which, not to cut you off, Joe, is Korkmaz, do you have a year left on his deal or something like that?
I think this is his last year. I'm
Okay,
not entirely sure. I think there's
okay,
an option.
gotcha.
I think that's definitely on the book is that there's an option. But the issue with Korkmaz is that he's just, Shake Milton's like, you're not taking food off my plate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
he doesn't.
like,
He got tired of them splinters, man. He
oh,
cleaned them
oh
splinters. He's like that bench. I don't even know what it. He doesn't
yeah.
even mention the word bench.
No, I mean, I wouldn't
Exactly.
want to. In front of Shake Milton, I wouldn't want to. I'm like, no, 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 I didn't put you on the bench. No, 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 no.
Not even a park bench. No public
No,
bench. Nothing.
no,
Not even Johnny Bench.
Not even Johnny
no.
bench.
But
Nothing.
I mean that guy, he's playing like a man possessed. He's like,
Yeah, absolutely.
listen, I need to feed my family. Period.
Yeah.
And my feeling is with if there's an option out there, and I'm not sure if there will be, but if there's an option out there with Korkmaz or House Jr., if there's an option out there for people to trade that for Maury to trade them for some draft capital,
I was about to
because
say, yeah.
because
Yeah.
there isn't really that much in the bank for draft capital. And I'm not saying you're going to get a first rounder, but even if you got a couple second rounders,
Right.
you get somebody that at least it's a prospect.
And they've done well with second round picks. And to your point, at this stage, let's say they somehow, and I think they can figure out one day how to get a first round pick. I know that the word on the street is they don't have one until 225 or something like that. I forget the year, but Maury and they're savvy enough to get that back. And the other thing is, Joe, because they'll probably be a top 3 team for the next 2 or 3 years moving forward. Hopefully this year crowning with the championship and then extending that. So your picks are going to be low first rounders anyway.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right. So you're not going to be in the lottery. You're going to be down. So even if you got a second rounder, and it's funny because like my buddy was discussing with me, he's like, my one regret of having lost a player, and he was a second round pick like you mentioned, Dame, is Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe's been killing it in OKC.
Wasn't any room for him. That's what it boiled down to.
No, I agree. I agree. There's
I was a fan. I like Joe. Just
I do too, but like it's kind of like the idea with Milton. Like with Shake Milton, he knew that if he doesn't fight for this position, he's out. Like because there's Maxey Milton, you have Harden, you have all these guys that are fighting for those spots. That if you ain't willing to come out like a hungry dog, you're getting left behind.
Well, you remember at the beginning of the year, I kept saying Melton took Milton's minutes.
Yeah,
right? And he did, and then it worked out as such. Now you do have good chemistry between Maxey and Milton, and even you had good chemistry between Melton and Milton when they were together before Maxey was out. So it's a nice, it's a great point, Joe. Yeah. Shake is like, playing his role,
So I have a couple names, and we're going to try to go through these. There are some names that are on the trade rumor and some that may be bought out of their contract. But I want to first start with one of the more headlined names out there, and it's not going to the Sixers, but I just want to get your takes on this one particular person, and I'm talking about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is at it again. The world is flat, and everything is sideways. We live in the upside down, whatever you want to call it. But he wants out. Dame, do you think this is smokescreen for more money? Do you think he genuinely wants out? Like, and where do you think he could land?
No, I don't believe it's smokescreen, and the reason I say that, listening to when the story broke last night, I was watching NBA TV, and Greg Anthony and my man Smith was on there, and he made some good points. If you go back to, last summer, when good morning, Frank.
Morning, Frank.
When you go back to last summer, when the Nets said to Kyrie, try to find a team that would take you. And so he couldn't find a team, and then he opted in for the 1-year contract. Moving forward, they go to negotiate, and they can't come on reach an agreement. And so now he's like, look, move me before the deadline. So with a lot of things that, and they raised some good points. You have to look at the Nets too, right? Yeah, we know Kyrie, what he's done, whatever. But you have to look at the Nets and go, wait a second, you had three, almost four superstars wanting out,
Yeah.
right? And they were like, they've never seen anything like that. And they've been around basketball. And I had to think too, I'm like, not with over a 2 year span where you have multiple like mega stars, not just like they said mega, like I went out. So that's one thing to look at. As far as where he's going, I'm looking at the Lakers could be a possibility, and they threw out Miami. They mentioned Dallas. Phoenix is a long shot. I can't see it with Phoenix, but look at the Lakers because they can move Westbrook over there and tear him back up with KD. But now here's the problem with the Nets. Oh, I'm glad I'm not in it. First, let me say this, and I know we got to do I'm so happy and elated to be a Philadelphia sports fan right now. I mean,
yes, sir.
I mean, really, man, because I said to myself last night, listening to this story, I'm going, wow, the Sixers don't have that problem. You know, Everyone's fighting for each other. They're rooting for each other. This team wants to win. The organization wants to win. And that's all you can ask for, you know, in your team. So, yeah, man, I see the Nets, and they mentioned Miami. I can see, and to me, Miami has more to offer with some of those shooters they have. So it'll be interesting. Well, I think you'll be moved by the 9th. It's 50-50.
So what Kyrie is doing with the Nets and what he has been doing with the Nets is criminal. And if you also have issues with doing things that are criminal and need some help, you could give somebody a call, right?
Yes, right. That's right, Joe. It's David R. Cherry Esquire, Workers' Comp, Motor Vehicle Accidents, Personal Injury, Criminal Law. Give them a call at 610-565-0300 and tell them that the boys over at EOP and Pattison Ave sent you.
You hear that, Kyrie? Tell them that the guys over at Pattison Ave and EOP sent you.
Very good segue into the commercial, man. Good eye by you, brother.
Listen, there was an old movie that was an oldie but a kind of a goodie, a corny movie, but it was called Escape from L.A. I feel like this is Escape from Brooklyn. and I really do.
Well, the original was Escape from New York, so you know.
Yeah, that too. And I mean, like, this is... It's interesting for me because it proves to me that the problem wasn't any of us in the Sixers organization. Like, remember when 2-5 got moved, the biggest question mark was, well, is it just because Joel was being, you know, a baby about things? And that all that rumor came out. No. Here he is, the true colors shine through. That you have two megastars in Harden and Kyrie that are like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. And then you have KD, who's not sure if he even wants to come back from injury and play hard for this guy. There is something to be said when it's, when it's not them, it's you. So I have a real bad feeling for Ben Simmons that he's not going to last very long in Brooklyn. Some other names, and we could try to go through these a little quickly, but some other names I want to get your takes on. Will Barton was out there from the Washington Wizards. He's been out there in trade rumors. The Wizards right now aren't doing as well as they had hoped. And now it's time to either cut bait and just try and rebuild, try to gain assets. Will Barton, Bradley Beal again, even though despite Bradley Beal just signing a long-term contract. Kyle Kuzma. All these people for the Washington Wizards are right now on that trade block.
Kuzma's on the trade block?
Yes.
I know they just traded Ochimura to the Lakers.
Hachimura, yeah.
Hachimura. I'm always butchering that guy's name.
Yeah, so
same here.
So Kuzma doesn't want to be on a bad team, so he's already expressed that he wants out. What do you guys think of either the prospect of Kuzma or Barton?
I guess I'll go with Barton. I think he's probably better off. I don't know about Kuzma. I think Kuzma to me is just he's just another head case. You know, he looks like he's just like a strange bird. I don't know why.
Dame?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where you would play Kuzma in this lineup.
Yeah.
He's a starter, so you're not going to put Tobias on the bench. You're not going to put you're not moving anybody off the start line. Will Barton's interesting because he's a point guard, and I think they could use another point guard back there to run the show. So again, Dow and Elton. And Elton's not talked about a lot, but I believe he is involved with. Obviously, I know he's involved with a lot of stuff with the team. So and so they have a good unit going on over there. Real quick, man, shout out to Doc Rivers, man, coach of the month, man.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid, player of the month, man.
Well, I
they're
mean,
shaping into something. They're shaping into something.
I would say this. Do you think that Doc is now off the hot seat?
No, I wouldn't say. No, he has to really put a team together. They have to produce in the playoff, Joe. This team is playoff built. It's clear to me. Just like, and I know we'll talk about them later.
Yeah.
Just like I realized how good the Eagles were at 8-0. I realize how good the Sixers are and how they're built for the playoffs, because like last night's victory gave them 8 road games in a row.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So you've had a 7-game. First of all, you had an 8-game winning streak overall. You had a 7-game home winning streak. You had a 5. Now 8. You won 5 in a row, an additional 3. So an 8-game road winning streak. You're collecting streaks, good winning streaks. Let me say that, right? So what that does is it prepares you, it brings you stronger together, and then when you're on the road in the playoffs, you know how to win, which is huge. So they to your question, it's I would say, yeah, man, you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, then we can go from there, So that's a must. And I want that. I want to see that, and I think they can get there. So.
James, do you think Doc's on the hot seat still?
Yeah, no. I'm kind of like Dame. I'm like, it's just like basically what Dame said. You nailed it right on the head, man. Is that basically like if he gets past the second round, then it's a successful season. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I mean, for me, it's a matter of I'm almost more greedier. I honestly feel like if getting past the second round's all good, but I think we got tunnel vision as fans, where that's the only concern. I really think this team is, and especially the way this city is now, they need to ride the lightning. They need to ride this wave all the way to the NBA Finals and all the way to an NBA championship.
And Frank says the same thing. He says like the Sixers are going to the NBA Finals this year, boys.
I agree with you, Frank, and I agree with you, Joe. I think what I'm doing, and I can't speak for James, but I'm departmentalizing because that's been the dude. I want not only I want to win. Like I feel like they can win.
Yeah,
like the pieces are there, right? So it's like, okay, get off this. And that's just keep, and then like you said, riding this wave, and I feel it, I feel the energy, fellas. I feel the energy, man. Yeah. I see it.
In a way, I feel like the Sixers feel the energy too.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Rivers was asked about it, and he said the city is alive.
Yeah.
And the interesting part of that comment is that I think that it's not just him that sees it, it's the players that see it too. And they're feeling it, and they're riding that momentum. And, I've said this before, and in a way I was teasing, and in a way I was being facetious. But you got the Phillies that went to the World Series, you got the Eagles in the Super Bowl. In the same 9-month span, can we be looking at 3 teams in 3 different championship games.
You know, it's kind of like how it was back in 1980. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I wasn't born until 15 years later. But it's like the Phillies went to the World Series, won it. Eagles went to the Super Bowl, obviously didn't win it. Sixers could be a possibility. Not sure about the Flyers, but hey, if the Flyers could turn around and turn into like 2010 Flyers, it's like okay, then it's like 1980 all over
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just a great time to be a Philly sports fan, and it's wonderful, no complaints.
No,
Yeah,
man. And I'm sorry, go, Joe.
yeah. Hashtag fire Fletcher.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
No,
Right back
but
at Maddie.
right back at me. And when you say that, both like so to Joe's point where they the Embiid and Harden and Maxey and Tucker, they were all at the Eagles game last week and
Yep.
and together, you know. And then to your point about Doc Rivers, he had this shirt
What's
on.
happening, Rob?
Philly,
Long time no see.
he had the shirt on. It's a Philly thing. And you're right, James. I talked about this on Cuz this week. I said to Tuners, I said, look, this is exactly like 1980. So
Yeah.
that year, I remember the Eagles in the World Series against the Raiders and losing, and I'm praying to God at halftime, please let us win, and you know, so and then the Sixers and the Flyers lost to the island or Edmonton.
Leon friggin' Steckel.
Yeah, and then the Phillies going to the World Series in '80 and winning it, you know, and watching that whole series and being able to stay up a little later at night. The game started a little earlier, but not too much around the same.
You know, James, I love you, man, because you weren't even alive, and
Yeah.
what you just said and how you said it with as much venom as you
Like
said
he was
it
there.
It was
Yeah.
like you were there
Yeah, man.
in the stands, like
Yeah.
Leon fucking
Yeah.
Steckel.
Yeah,
And I'm
man.
like, okay, do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that was huge.
All
That was
right.
huge.
But
Yeah.
So yeah,
Another-
the wave is here. It's here. The Roaring
Yeah.
20s. And hey, throwing the Union. You had the Union in the championship.
Yeah.
You had the Phillies.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, now the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And Philly Sixers are on their way. So, man, good stuff. Good stuff.
And so another name on this list, and we talked about point guards name, and this name kind of popped out to me because I feel like he's kind of an underrated point guard.
Mhm.
Mike Connolly.
I
Hmm.
like Mike Conley.
I
He's
like
on the
him
block?
too.
Yeah.
Huh. He's with
He's
the
on.
Grizzlies, right?
No.
No. He was
I forget what team
Yeah, I
he's
think
on.
he's with Utah. I
yeah,
think.
with Utah.
Yeah, Utah.
Utah. Yes, right. I'm tripping. Yeah. Okay. He's with Utah.
Because Utah is now like abandoning ship.
Oh, they want to do that. They want to really because they're better than what they thought they were.
Well,
What's the people
because
gonna
you
be?
got to remember they sent Gobert away, and they send Mitchell away. So those were the big main stages. They have to just sell off right now.
The marketing is balling for them.
Yeah. But what do you guys think about Connolly and the prospects of where he could land? I mean, for me, Connolly's already coming off the bench for Utah. My feeling is Connolly is an underrated yet very savvy kind of point guard.
He is. He can score too.
Yeah, and he's good he's a good defender.
He's a good defender. I wouldn't mind that coming off the bench. Give me a few minutes sparing him here or there. Keep with the offense. That'll let Maxey loose a little bit more because he get him in the spots. I wouldn't mind that. That or yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
God, James.
No, so I think that's actually a good piece. I mean, he's not somebody that you probably have to give rid of like everything but the kitchen sink to him.
Yeah.
I think you'll have to trade like obviously like a Thibault or somebody like that. I mean, like if you can get like Conley for like Darnell House Jr. or maybe like I guess like or your Cork Moss, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And the thing about Thibault, you mentioned Thibault's been actually consistent
Yeah.
in the past 5 or 6 games. He's scoring a little bit more, getting to the free throw line, and his defense in that second unit, man. So he's another one that's kind of found the role. Like I need to, and we're gonna need Thibault in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
We're gonna need a Thibault.
Yeah.
Yo, you know how it goes, Joe. You get
Yeah.
that one guy, Don Strutter, who hadn't played in like 20 games and comes off wants to get hot.
Yep.
So You gotta lock him down.
I mean, so another point guard that I have on this list that's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
He's on the trade block. Is a guy who's more known for his scoring and playmaking ability, and that's Jordan Clarkson. So it's interesting to me because Jordan Clarkson has won Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, I know.
Jordan Clarkson also knows Doc Rivers' system.
Yeah.
This is a guy who seems like if you paired him with someone like Maxey,
Yeah.
it would be like the second string, the second team would be as strong as the first team.
And I've always liked him. I've always liked, even when he was with the Lakers, I've always liked that guy, man.
And again, the way that I made this list, I made it so that way these guys, not only would they be on the trade block, they could be a buyout. So despite what they are making, it may not necessarily be about a money thing. It may be because these teams want to drop money as much as possible.
Right.
So buyouts are going to be, I mean, we all know that buyouts are a big thing after the trade deadline, and people can make out like thieves on it.
Yeah.
So another name is a guy who is very interesting to me, DeMar DeRozan. And I kind of go back to his time with the Kings. He took an irrelevant Kings team and made Buddy Hield relevant. He made other guys, De'Aaron Fox relevant. He made guys, those young kids, relevant. If you have a guy like DeRozan who's not going to necessarily cost you a lot.
DeRozan from the Bulls?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He's on the block?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
So is Zach LaVine, believe it or not. So the Billy Donovan is not happy with some of the play of some of his players. He doesn't feel like they've lived up to what they like, the contract.
But the problem with that now is you're talking to DeRozan, who's an all-star, who's a prolific scorer. You're gonna have to move a bigger name. Now our starting lineup is reshuffled. Now the bench is reshuffled because he's not coming off the bench.
No.
You know?
And that would be maybe a Harris deal.
Now I'm going smaller, but then I'm going to be smaller.
Yeah, and you're going to be not as versatile because DeRozan's not as versatile of a three-point shooter as Harris is.
And also, the other thing is, you know, and this is funny because it's been brought up roughly a week ago. So, you know, Tobias has been playing some good defense. Like in that Nuggets game, he had to D up Murray. And Doc said he went to him and goes, you know, do you think you could D up Murray or should I put in the house? And he goes, I'm not going to tell you what he said to me, but it was probably some explicits, you know. And then the other night against the Magic, the second game, the first game, when they lost to the Magic, people were upset, but it was like, listen, the Eagles just won. They had beaten the Magic 10 times in a row. No excuses. You're supposed to beat them, but they were partying, whatever. But they beat him Wednesday by 10, 11, whatever the score was, right? And he had to put Tobias on that rookie, that kid Powell. And he did his work. So, again, when I go back to this team is built for the playoffs, that's why we have, you know, certain moves like that. It's like, do I want to do that? Because now I'm working all over again. I already got the big fella in the point guard. That machine is oiled up.
Oh yeah.
That thing is that's lathered up.
Oh yeah.
2-man pick and roll, swap. That's easy.
And it's spinning at full velocity.
Velocity.
And here's I got to get this off my chest, and I'll get you guys' impressions. So that fraud that is, you know, in Denver, that fraud of a 2-time MVP, that fraud. Look, I'm not knocking that Jokic isn't a talented player. I'm not. Right. I just don't think he's of MVP caliber. I mean, this is a guy that plays half the end of the court. He goes head to head with Joel Embiid, and Embiid puts him in his place. That's 2 games in a row that Embiid was like, okay, you're going to come in and try to shut me up? No, 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 no. I'm going to rise to the occasion, and I'm going to put you down. Like, I'm going to put you in your place, both with Ben Simmons and with Jokic.
He had
It's
enough.
like,
He had enough.
but here's the thing that's still boggling my mind about the NBA and towards Embiid. Embiid's doing 40 and 10 and going, ho hum, ho hum, ho hum. Really? Like, this is what we're doing? Like, the guy's still dropping 40 and 10. You said he's not putting up enough offense. Okay, cool. I'll just put up 40 and 10 every night. I don't give a damn. Like, but now you're not doing this, that, and the other. He's like, are you kidding? Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care then.
I'm going to anchor my defense.
Right.
I'll do that just for fun.
So, I look, the Denver game was proof to me that this team is ready to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who in the East, if the playoffs started today, who in the East what team are you guys most afraid of, Dame?
Good question, Joe. Good question and well put. You know, afraid. I'm not going to say afraid, but okay. So I'm gonna answer your question. So I've been watching. The other night I was pissed off because the Clippers had Milwaukee up by 21 points. And lost in the end. We could have, got a game on them. I'm gonna always look at Boston and Milwaukee. However, I like our bench over both of their benches.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that. Like, Boston's bench needs some work. They got Brogdon, they got the kid Williams, Bradley here and there. Like, our bench, and if we had to mix in, and we talking playoffs, Joe.
Yeah.
If we had to mix in one of our starters or two with some of our bench, I like that. And I like that over Milwaukee. So I give us the slight edge in that category.
James?
Before we go any further, I'll get my answer right there, Rick.
Yep.
Before that, today's sponsorship is also sponsored by Sherry Tickettown. Save 10% using the promo code EOP10 for great prices and no hidden fees, sports, concert, and tickets. Visit www.sherrystickets.com. Family owned and operates since 1946, and tell them that Pattison Avenue and EOP sent you. I guess I could say the one thing I take out of it is that scares me more than the East. I gotta go with I don't know if the Knicks are legit. I mean, Brunson's good. Cleveland. I guess I gotta say with Boston, because like Boston's always been a thorn in our side for God knows how long it's been going on. Because they got a lot of good players, like you said there, Dame. I mean, obviously Tatum's like one player that's good. I mean, they got they got Brogdon and all that other players.
And Brown and all those guys.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown, right? That's what I was thinking of too.
Smart,
yeah, Marcus Smart if he's fully healthy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a little bit of a scary task to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm more with the matchup of the team that I fear the most, because I think of it in a 7-game series, is Giannis and the Bucks. Because I feel like, not that Giannis would give us fits, I just think the matchup between Giannis and Embiid for 7 games is going to be must-see TV. And I honestly think, like, I don't fear the Bucks, but I do I do feel like they're probably the level of competition that we need to live up to get past that, to get into the NBA Finals. I think eventually the path will go through Milwaukee for Sixers. I really do.
Yeah, Milwaukee's another team that's scary, but I mean, Antetokounmpo's okay. I mean, he's great, no question about it. But like, I look at their team, it's like, okay, other than Middleton, who else do they got?
Well, Drew's good. Drew's a solid defender.
Yeah, Drew Holiday. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And Porter, when he's healthy, he's been out. They have it in that long. I agree with Joe. That would be a matchup wise a good battle.
Yeah,
that's why I say like that. Those benches will come into play. I like their bench a little bit more than Boston's. I would say that, right?
Yeah, their bench is really good. I agree
Yeah,
with
it's a
that.
little bit better. And
Just keep
so
in mind that benches shorten in the playoffs too.
it does, but it's like I think I'm just thinking about with the Sixers how their roles are being defined.
Hmm.
Because like Maxi's going to play now, Shake's
Yeah,
going to play,
yeah,
Right.
Bible to probably, and he's got so I could see him playing, and I could see Doc going with a 10-man rotation.
Hmm.
I could see that, and then Niang because you got Bang Bang,
yeah.
right? You're gonna need Bang, and here's the thing for Bang Bang, right?
Bang bang.
I, was, I, was, I just go that's my man Bang Bang. Oh, Bang Bang. With George last year, he was like our sixth man, right?
Yep.
This is give Allen credit, where it wore him down defensively. He's not the best defender as is, but he
Right.
tries. He's going to get physical. He'll always be physical with you, without a
Yes.
doubt, on defensive end. So I think the fact, Joe, that he couldn't, was relied upon so much, and it wore him down defensively that it affected his shots. Because towards the end of that Miami series, kind of worn down a little bit. So now moving forward, he comes, Maxi's the sixth man. George comes in, does his thing, drives to the basket, gets some couple of boards here and there when he can. I just need him to put two hands on the ball. But that allow him to be free to do his thing. So it is, and that's the beauty of the playoffs. It boils down to the matchup. So
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, from what I'm seeing, as far as like Maxi coming off the bench, like midway at the end, like towards the end of quarters, especially the first quarter, I love seeing like the other team exhausted, and then looking at Maxi coming in all fresh as a daisy, and I'm like, and those guys are like, "Are you kidding?
yeah,
Like, come on,
yeah,
man, we
yeah,
ain't doing
yeah,
this."
yeah.
Um,
It
but
was
we're
nice
gonna,
to see him get his step back last night. Get
yeah.
25. Nice to see him get back in his game.
So with EOP and Pattison Ave, we are 4 for 4 and so much more with sports. And there were some pretty big headlines that came across this week that caught my eye. And one of them was Tom Brady, the GOAT, retiring again. And James, me and you touched on it earlier. You tell me and everybody else out there, what are your opinions of this retirement?
I think it's all a bunch of BS. Honestly, I don't think he's really retired. I mean, unless he is officially retired, and I don't see him in July on training camp or even the first preseason games or even the regular season next year, then I'll be like, okay, he was really pulling. He actually thought it was retired. But I don't think he would be like as retired because I think it's like a Brett Favre situation, like we talked about before the show. I think like if he sees like a team that's really struggling, he's gonna say, "No, screw this broadcasting booth. I'm going back and playing again." I mean, I gotta see it to believe it. I don't buy it that he's gonna physically unless he can't do it anymore. Then I'll totally believe it. But honestly, I think it's all a bunch of baloney.
Dame?
Oh wow! Like, so when you raised the question, I was going to go. I think it's fully retired. But then listening to some things James was saying, um, I first of all, let me say this: I think he should retire. He's done. I thought he was done last year.
Yeah.
Um, and this year was evident. He just doesn't have it. Like father, as Joe Marks always says, father times.
Yep.
You can't beat
Father
him.
Time will come back and bite you, believe me.
James, he's undefeated.
It's
He's
one
undefeated,
enemy.
exactly
It's
right.
one enemy you can't defeat is Father Time.
He's undefeated, and it's crazy because as a kid now, and I'm getting to I remember when you guys know Dr. J was my favorite player, and growing up, and then when about to retire, it was like what? Now by this point, I'm like 18, 19 years old when he's retiring, and I watched him since I was 7 years old, so 7, 8, 9, or whatever it was. But you realize, these guys can't play forever, right? That's what I'm trying to say. And so it's like, and with Father Time, it's like certain guys. I go back to when Muhammad Ali, and I when I was a little boy, Muhammad Ali was actually starting the second phase of his career.
Yeah.
Okay. Because remember, he was out in the late 50s, 60s, or whatever it was. I wasn't, and so when mid '70s, he was on the second wave, and then did his thing to the mid '80s when he kind of was like, he should have been done. You know,
Right.
so all I have to say, I think it will be best for him to retire.
Hmm.
I'm curious to see once he does go up into the booth, what type of analyst he's going to be. That because I don't know, but I would say I don't think he's coming back. But James made me think about something. If the right team comes along with the right offer, he might do a 1 year deal.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I, I, I,
mean,
I go ahead, James.
no, I'm sorry, Joe. I mean, the only person that I thought, I mean, that probably should never retire, like more like as an Eagles fan, is Ray Dininger because he's a legend. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's back now too.
yeah, he is back. Yeah,
He should be, yeah.
he does the pre and post game, but I
Yeah,
like,
for the
but
playoffs, for the
that's the
playoffs,
only
yeah.
reason why I don't think Ray Dininger will retire for anything.
Yeah, some guys can
Like,
go down. Yeah, just keep rocking. You go.
yeah,
To
same with Merle. Like, same with
Oh,
Merle.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he'll never
Well,
retire.
I even go back to like Harry Callis.
Yeah,
Harry Callis did to his
Yeah.
dying day. Like
There you go.
He was in the
just-
booth.
Yeah.
He was in the booth
Yeah.
preparing for the game. I forget who they were about to play. They were on the road though. I remember
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
Washington. I think it was like Washington.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Cubs and they broke that story. I was like, wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, but like that's the thing is like for those kind of guys, for those legends, those guys, it's not work to them. Like it's
Oh no.
it's passion.
Yeah.
And like that's why they stand out the most. But with Tom, as much as I think Tom has a passion for playing the game, I honestly think it's a business. I
Yeah.
really do,
Of course.
because if it was
course.
about passion, you wouldn't have left New England, no matter what the consequences were. You were
True.
winning, you were around people, you were around a franchise that was willing to do whatever you asked them to do.
Mhm.
So for me, it's like, okay, it's an ego thing, and he wants to move on. And like I said to James earlier, before we came on air, I was like, it's a hell of a retirement plan to be able to go into a commentary booth, be the highest paid sports commentator in the history of commentary. He's getting more money than Aikman and Romo and all those other guys, and he's got 10 years, $375 million contract with Fox locked up. I mean, here's the thing: is Greg Olson. I feel bad for Greg Olson. Greg Olson's like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, y'all gonna have to kick me out of the booth somehow. You're gonna have to make this a 3-person booth. I ain't leaving.
Yeah,
And-
it's funny. Like back before Troy Aikman got the job, it was
Yeah.
Chris Collinsworth and Buck and Aikman.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, because I honestly think that there's going to be a lot of regime changes in the booth in the next couple of years. So with that Brady retirement, there was an interesting question raised by Joe Giglio this week, and I kind of find it. Some of what he brought up was a little controversial in my mind, and I will say, Dave Yarnell, if you're listening, this one might interest you the most. What are your top 5? And there doesn't need to be a particular order. Your top 5 all-time quarterbacks. Dame, who are your top 5 all-time quarterbacks?
Oof. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I gotta go Montana. I'm gonna have to go Brady. Because he's not my top. Well, he's going a great quarterback. So yeah, I gotta say Brady. Trying to think. I mean, one of my favorites obviously gonna be Randall, because Randall was Randall. Like he changed the game on so many levels. So I'm gonna throw him in there just for that alone. Man, Joe, that's a tough one. That would be 3, and 2 of them are obvious, right? Because of their stature. I'm trying to think teams. So Pittsburgh, not. I got 3 right now. You might want to go to James. Let me
what
sit on that.
What do you say,
Yeah. Let me sit on that.
James? Did we lose James?
No, he had this.
No, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what that was.
Oh, okay.
What are your top 5 all-time quarterbacks, James?
Yeah, it's I gotta say Montana for one. Probably Brady two. Dan Marino three. John Elway four.
Elway was a nice, good call.
And I gotta go with Joe Namath.
Joe
Ooh,
Namath,
Broadway Joe.
Broadway
Interesting.
Joe.
That I gotta say, James, that is a much more compelling list than what I heard from Joe Gilio. So,
Yeah,
kudos to you. My top 5 are Brady, Montana, Young, um, Peyton Manning, and this guy wasn't even mentioned, and I'm like astonished. Troy Aikman. It's like, hold
Well,
up, did we not remember that Troy had 3 titles?
well, the reason why, and I remember listening to Ike one day. Some wonder if he was a game manager, but like an elite game manager. And what they meant by that was because they had the triplets, Aikman,
Emmett,
Emmett, and Irvin.
yeah,
And then he had the tight end,
Dal Johnson.
Moose Johnson, and he had his tight end, forget the guy's name. Dang, he was really good. He had not Witten, he had another tight end. But anyway, they were stacked. They had a solid offense, great offensive line and defense. But
Jay
it was
Novacek. Novacek.
Novacek, thank you. Novacek, thank you. So now, Joe, this is not me saying this, and it made me think when I go back to look. Was he an elevated game manager? Now I think he got an MVP in one of the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay. I never thought to call him that, me personally. I know he's in the Hall of Fame.
Like
so
I honestly here's the way I
Yeah.
see it. Like I understand the game management perspective, but
right.
think about where those like a Novacek, a Johnson, and Irving, some of those other guys, where those guys' careers would be without an
Yeah.
Aikman. If
Yeah.
there was like someone like a Vinny Testaverde, would that
Ooh.
have been the same outcome?
Nah.
And I don't think so. And
Nah,
and that's why I give Aikman the nod. And honestly, like Young in Montana, I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches for the Niners.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with Marino and Elway, only because Elway did some things that were really, really special, and Marino is a one of a kind. Despite him not winning a Super Bowl, he's still
only
one of a
going
kind.
once.
Yeah.
Only going once. No, Joe, you make a good point. No, I agree. Like, and I think about that with Aikman's play. Mike, what's up? I think about that with Aikman's play. He was effective, man. Like I said, when that was raised, I was like, I never would give him that. But then it made me look, well, was he?
Yeah.
But like for instance, what's the name that beat us in the playoffs? Tampa Bay. Detmer, not Detmer. Tampa Bay's quarterback.
Brad Johnson? No.
Not Brad Johnson. Who was the one that went to the Super Bowl? No, the quarterback when Baltimore when they first Super Bowl.
I know who you're talking
Trent
about.
Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer was more of a game manager.
Yes. Trent Dilfer.
Thanks, James.
In my
You got it, dude.
see Trent Dilfer in my mind, when people talk about you need a quarterback to win a Super Bowl, I immediately go to that example because I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, Trent Dilfer is no way in hell a talented quarterback.
Right.
But he just had enough to get it done. He didn't lose you the game, but he didn't win you the game. But all he had to do was not lose you the game. And I still feel like that should be Dak's perspective. And I know that people might say, well, but he's more talented than that. I understand that, but sometimes when you force the issue, then you start to make those mistakes, and those mistakes become glaringly evident when those mistakes cost you a playoff game.
Would you label Nick Foles a game manager doing that run?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Doing that run.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about over. I'm talking about doing. Really?
Yeah,
Really?
well,
I
because
wouldn't label him a game manager.
yeah,
though.
well, you got to remember, Dame, how many running yards did we have in that playoff run?
A lot.
Yeah, and so you had a lot of
But I
support.
mean, he would have.
You had a lot of
Yeah.
support with Nick, and that not to say that Nick couldn't throw the football.
No, I
don't
kind of get
want
what
it.
you're saying.
I don't want it to be misconstrued that a game manager means you can't throw the football.
No, you're
My-
not
my-
saying
my-
that. I know what you're
My
saying.
point is that I think that he understood how to control the tempo of the game because that game, especially in the Super Bowl with Brady, when that started to get into a shootout,
Mm-hmm.
any quarterback could have let that get out of hand. They
Yeah.
could have lost the grip on them on those reins, and
Right.
that would have been trouble.
Right.
Right.
And I'll say this in closing for this. There's a rumor going around, and I'll get quick takes on this. A rumor about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys that Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott might be getting traded,
Swapped.
swapped.
Wait a minute. So Prescott goes to Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers goes to Dallas?
Correct.
Eesh.
Oh my God.
And McCarthy's going to remain the coach.
Yeah, it's a reunite,
Oh yeah.
reunited, and it feels
Nah,
so.
I'm not worried about that. I'm, not worried
Yeah,
about I'm on my way to get my next Super Bowl ring. They're trying to.
I'll worry about that next season.
Yeah, I'm not. That doesn't scare me
Right.
a little bit.
And another news that James brought up is Phillies oriented, but pitchers and catchers start in about less than 2 weeks, and one of the pitchers for in the minors,
I
Painter,
got you, Joe.
he is high on the top 100 prospect list for the MLB, and for me, this is huge news. And the reason why I feel that way is there's been much debate whether or not the Phillies are going to need like that fourth or fifth starter. I feel like between Painter and a couple other guys arms that you can have come up, I think you're going to be fine in that fifth starter role. I really do. My question to you guys is, do you feel like first off, James, how can people go and see the Phillies this season? Do we have like a trip or to different places or a website that they can book their trips?
Yeah, we got PhillySportsTrips.com. Obviously, this one is I guess it's from this season, but we got one more game left until Super Bowl 57. You still can buy your tickets at PhillySportsTrips.com. And for the Phillies, there's a lot to unpack on that similar front. I think it's there's like a trip to New York, and I think there's another trip to. I'm not sure Chicago yet, but like all season long for the Phillies, definitely you could check out PhillySportsTrips.com and purchase your trip to PhillySportsTrips.com today.
Yeah, to any Phillies away game, and be sure to understand that prices, packages, and everything will change, but you will always get competitive offers there at PhillySportsTrips.com.
And the other thing too, is I think I would add is that I think all the spring training trips are sold out. Like, I think that's what I saw a couple days ago.
But that's why I was bringing up about regular season, because the next thing we know it's going to be April, and the season's going to be kicking off.
Yeah,
and I want people to get those Valentine's Day presents for their loved ones for some Philly sports trips. Go ahead, Dame.
Yeah.
Nah, I said sometimes.
Thank you, Mike. Pittsburgh and Colorado too. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
I just wonder, it's nothing big deal. Like if baseball, it comes back. It's like it's over in November, and then February they're back to catches and pitches. Just like because we see basketball, they get out by June. Season's over. So with the champions, so August, September.
Yep.
October, and I don't know, 4 months, still about the same.
You know, it's
So
funny. It's like I saw last night. It's like pitchers and catchers. Like they talk about pitchers and catchers on MLB Network the day after the Super Bowl, and it's like right after the Super Bowl, Phillies season
So
starts right around the corner.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
It's like a never-ending roller coaster ride.
Yeah, man.
But
It's a fun roller coaster ride too. It's like you can be in line, the first person in line all the time, man.
yeah.
It's awesome.
So speaking of the big game, fellas, we're gonna get into our predictions for the big game next week because I want to get some more fervor. I mean, I was talking with Cuz, and I literally said to him, I said, listen, I don't want to get hyped yet because I don't want it to settle down in a week. I want to build up the fervor. So
Right.
we're going to build up the fervor. So we're going to first start with impressions, your takeaways from the Niners-Eagles game, the drubbing of the Niners.
The drubbing of the Niners.
So, Dame, what was your takeaways from the game?
Oh man, just elated, man. You know, when we went up 7-0, and then I felt like the defense Reddick out the gate, wreaked havoc, and got my 2 turnovers. I'm always asking for my 2 picks and my fumble, but I got a couple of fumbles. But when it was 7-0, and then we got the ball back, and we didn't score for like 3 drives, and then when McCaffrey scored, I was upset, but not scared, not worried. I was like, okay, they just woke us up. That's it for them for the day. I remember saying that to myself.
Yep.
And lo and behold, we get the 2 turnovers, and the one that Johnson, they see the close up of him, and the quarterback is always looking at the defense, right? He's trying to see who's coming from where, and you could see the pressure was there, the energy was there. He a deer in headlights, as James would say, and he dropped the ball. So when we scored again and we went up 21-7, I felt good. I'm like, all right, we're in good hands, because I felt as though, Joe, we should have had 21 points, right? I said, okay. So once we got those turnovers and we went up 21-7, I knew it was all good. And then, man, like they just did their work and took care of what they needed to take care of the second half. I didn't think Jalen played his best game, but I thought he played enough to get us to win. And like I said in my text I do with my brother and my other guys, I said, watch him run more in the second half. Expect him to run more in the second half. And he did. And I saw him kind of like a boxer. You know what? I'm going to run, because those lanes were there, but I could see where he's like, I'm going to wait to the second half to open those things up.
Yeah.
And great game by Gannon. I know we'll get into it. He let the dogs loose. And I'll just say this, to let James go. One of my coworkers, I'm so glad he didn't talk to you, Joe. He's a 49ers fan. He wore the Montana jersey that Friday, and he bumped me. And one of my other coworkers said, Montana ain't walking through that tunnel. And then sure enough, so Monday, I talked to him. I didn't give it to him. I either Monday or Tuesday, and I said to him, he said, man, those refs, those calls. And we didn't have a court. I said, you really believe that with the refs? That's what I said. I didn't even argue. I said, you really believe that, man? and it's like, dude, no. We were the better team. We imposed our will. Everybody said 49ers was the big bad 49ers. Mm-hmm. You wasn't coming into Link to knock us out. Wasn't happening. Handle our business. Game over. We're on our way to the Super Bowl.
Yep. James, you were there.
James, that's right.
You were there.
I was there.
Yes,
you were
brother.
in the building.
Yeah, man. I felt. I mean, I was feeling nostalgic the whole game, man. I was like feeling like to myself, like it didn't hit me until maybe like the first half. I was like, oh my god, this is like disintegrative, And I was like losing my mind. I was like thinking, if we lose this game, it's gonna be. But I'm actually, it wasn't like I didn't have any hope. But after they had those 2 turnovers, like you said, Damon, I was like, oh, there they are. And then they went up 21-7. I was thinking, okay, now I could calm down. Now I can relax. And I think the one thing that really made the team, I mean, like you said, Jalen Hurts played a good game. He didn't play a very good game, but he played good. But overall, what the Eagles had to do in that game is that, like, when they were up 28-7, they just were just like bleeding the clock to just count down the minutes until we hoist that trophy, that George Howard's trophy, to go to the Super Bowl.
So a couple things occurred to me during this game, and number one, I agree with you, Dame, and it's astonishing to me.
Yep.
We talked earlier about game managing quarterbacks, and we talked about like what we view and what we don't. And Jalen in both playoff games did not play his best games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the body of work that Jalen has had in this playoff, and you just looked at the numbers and the stat sheet, you wouldn't say he was very successful.
Right.
But the only stat that matters is a win. And this is why I've felt the way that I have felt. It doesn't, and I said this when Cuz was on our show for our 5th anniversary. He said it's not always going to be, Jalen's not always going to save the day with his legs or his arms. He's going to save it with his words, with his mental toughness.
Yep.
Because he's not going to say, hey guys, put all the pressure on my shoulders. He's going to be like, no, I'm going to set it's the thing he always says. You got to set the temperature in the room. You can't let it just be cool all the time. You got to set the temperature in the room. So that's what he does. He sets the temperature in the room and everyone else follows. And that's a difference in that, because if you notice, Kenneth Gainwell's been playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
Miles Sanders been playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
the defense and Hassan Reddick has been playing out of his mind. And sorry, I gotta, I like Jonathan Gannon. I heard what Jonathan Gannon said.
I didn't know what you were doing, bud.
I didn't know what you were doing either, bro. I was like, okay, maybe you needed to get a drink or something.
I thought you were clearing your throat. I didn't
Yeah, I
know
thought
what you were doing,
That's what
man.
I'm saying. Maybe you needed a drink or something.
Yeah, really.
So
That's what I thought.
there
He's
was
like,
a video.
Did to swallow his pride.
Yeah.
I got it now.
That's hard. That's
I
hard.
got it. That was a
Well,
So, there was a video that was put out a couple days ago where fans were walking around past the link, and Jonathan Gannon was driving by, and he was going to work. And he said, he rolled down his window and yelled out, "We're going to grind their bones." And I'm just like, oh my God, he's going to kill the Chiefs. And I'm like, I love Jonathan Gannon now. I'm like, oh my God.
He gets it.
I'm like, oh my God, you just did something that I've been dying for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he sits there and says, he also continues going on later that day in a press conference, says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying with this team. This is my home. So I'm like, hold up. Loyalty means a lot to me. And honestly, like, for a guy that has not really screwed the pooch as much as someone like Jim Schwartz did.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, he's got some fire. I like it.
Yeah, it's a piggyback what you just said. I don't think Jim Schwartz will be doing that to Eagles fans. It's like, we're gonna go at their neck,
Yeah.
I don't think he'll ever want to do that.
He had to lift the visor up before he put the window down in his car. But to you, something, just listening to you saying something, Joe, and it made me think, man. They talk about it, but the team had what, 74 sacks, 75 sacks, 70 sacks, whatever the number was.
70 sacks on the season. They've had more in the playoffs.
All right, so 70 sacks in the season.
Yeah.
70 sacks.
Yep.
And his scheme is push up front.
Yeah.
Um,
Second to the 85 Bears, which is considered by most as the best defense of all time.
So they had 75, right? That
Yes.
team. Okay, that's what I'm. Okay, so we had 70. So you're right on the heels of the 85 Bears. I
Yep.
remember that team too. Talk about game management. It's funny, Jim McMahon. We'll get the debate that for another day because he was an Eagle too,
yeah.
as we know. But you know, he had Walter Payton and that defense. So now, when you look at what he's done defensively, and then literally in the playoffs, this is where it matters most: sacks, getting turnovers, interceptions, putting fear on the quarterback and pushing that team's offensive line is success. And this is what we're seeing in the playoffs on both sides of the trenches. The other thing, when you guys mentioned Jalen, one of the most important things that you could do as a quarterback in the playoffs is take care of the ball. And man, he's doing that. He's doing that.
I agree. And sometimes that's, you know, sometimes we throw that title out there as game manager, and it kind of,
thanks, Joe.
It becomes like an ugly connotation. And I think when you take care of the ball, that is a matter of game management, and that shouldn't be considered ugly. That should be considered, you know, smart. And you know, it's interesting because so Hassan Reddick and I have crossed paths. Back when I was in Temple, and I know if Tom were here, the 20 years that I was in college, I understand. But the time that I was in Temple, I had a buddy of mine who tutored Hassan for a semester in one of his classes. And then I also had a class with Hassan. It was like a gen ed kind of course. And I had a class with him. I didn't really talk too much with him, but the tutor and I were good friends and have stayed friends. And he messaged me on Facebook, and he said, "You're not going to believe what just came over in my inbox." And I said, "Okay, what?" And he said, "Hassan just sent me a ticket to the Super Bowl."
Whoa!
I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Hassan sent me a message saying he had 5 extra tickets, and he wanted me to have one of them." So he's like, "I got a free Super Bowl ticket."
Holy shit!
I'm like,
that's cool.
Why the hell didn't I talk to Hassan when he was in my class?
Yeah.
God
damn it!
Damn!
I'm like, you knew him for 3 months.
Yeah.
And you got a free ticket. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Oh my! Oh wow!
So he got a free ticket. It's on the in the lower bowl, and
wow!
It's great seats.
Man,
I'm like, God damn! He's like flying out.
That is awesome, man.
He's flying out Monday, and he's going to take up some of the festivities.
Sure.
And it's just like, okay.
Dude,
damn.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is.
That's a nice gesture, man. I like that.
Really nice gesture.
That was brought up to during the week that I didn't realize, but now I do. So Hassan was drafted the year the draft was in Philly.
Yeah, I heard that the other day. Yeah.
Matt Rule was on with the Cuz the other day.
Okay.
And when I was at Temple, I actually got to talk with Matt Rule because Temple had open practices and you could just go down on the field.
Okay.
So I would just go and pop in because it wasn't that far off campus, the practice field, that is. So Matt Rule said that this kid wasn't even highly recruited out of college, but one of his assistant coaches came up to him and said, "We have to get him." He was a walk-on on Temple. They didn't expect him to do very much, but when Matt Rule first saw him play, he was like, "Oh, we're not letting him out of our sight."
Right.
And so when the draft happens in Philly, Hassan goes to Arizona, then goes back to Matt Rule in Carolina, and then ends up here in Philly. Has the kind of season that he's had, and now he's going to the Super Bowl.
In Arizona.
You can't write this story. You really
in Arizona.
can't.
Yeah.
In Arizona.
Yeah.
You really can't write this story.
Yeah, that's dope.
And
it's an amazing story, man.
It is. So I wanted to get your takes
Mhm.
on the Kansas City Chief game. Is such an interesting matchup. Now,
Mhm.
someone made a joke. He's like, Andy Reid's going to get a Super Bowl for the Eagles, just not the way he wants. He's finally going to give a Super Bowl to the Eagles,
I
just not
saw
the
it,
way
Yep.
he
man.
wants.
Yep.
But
Yeah, I saw it.
my question to you guys is: does Andy Reid go down in your mind as one of the greatest uh, coaches of all time? And where would you really put him? Like top five, top three, top 10? James, start with you.
Um, I guess I would say top 10. I
Top
think
10. Dame, what do you about? What about
Yeah,
you?
I agree with James top 10. I think he's a great coach. I have some friends who still are upset with him. I'm like, Big Red kept us in the mix, man. I was happy when he won because we had already won, but right now I don't know him. You feel me?
now I don't know.
I don't know him right now. I'll know him
Yeah,
after. I'll know him after next Sunday. How about that?
See, for
yeah,
me, I honestly, and I know that some people might completely disagree with me in this. I have it kind of. I put Andy Reid up there at top five.
Okay.
I have um I have Bill Walsh. I
Mhm.
have
hmm
Bill Belichick.
Mhm.
I have um I just had this Vince Lombardi.
Mhm.
hmm
I have Mike Holmgren,
I
Hmm.
thought about Holmgren. Okay.
and
Okay,
the other guy would be Bill Parcells.
Okay.
that's a
I
good
like
mix.
that. That's a
That's a
good.
good
I would put.
mix.
You know what? I would put Andy right there with those guys. I would do that.
Yeah,
That's a good
Yeah,
call.
same here.
Good
Same here.
call. Good call, Joe. I like that. I like that.
because here's my feeling. Yeah, think about it in this perspective. Andy, when he left Philly, I don't know if anybody really thought that he was going to pick up another team and take them as far as he's taken the Chiefs. Now, yeah, I get he got Patrick Mahomes, but honestly, we've said this before. It's not just the player. I mean, look, Justin Herbert in LA with a bonehead coach.
Mhm.
It's not
Right.
just the player. Justin Herbert is a talented quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind. If he had a better coach, he'd be one of the top five quarterbacks in the league.
Mhm.
And my feeling is with Andy,
Mhm.
he understood how to mature a young quarterback to become. Look, he had a great canvas with Pat Mahomes to begin with. That's
Well,
a
Yeah.
great athlete to have, but to have that kind of athlete with that kind of mind, whew, that's a dangerous
well,
combination.
well. Look at it. Look at the people he groomed to become really good quarterbacks. Brett Favre,
Yep,
um, McNabb,
yep,
right? Feely. Um, I think we had some of the Detmer boys. He had some of them. He got them better.
yep,
Then Vic when he rejuvenated Vic's career. So and he drafted Nick Foles. People forget that he actually
yep,
drafted Nick Foles, and then he goes to Kansas City and he had Alex Smith, got him some before he had that horrific injury, and then like you said, Patrick Mahomes. He definitely and he had Mark Brunell. I want to say he had Mark Brunell because we almost got Brunell from Green Bay, but the deal didn't work out, and that's when he went down to Jacksonville. But yeah, he's had a plethora of quarterbacks that he's groomed. Like I said, dynamite coach. Um, it was a time for him to leave when he left us. Yeah, it was time. He even knew it. He had a lot going on. We hadn't won. We got close, never get over the hump. Things with his family, unfortunately. So it was time for a change. And I knew he was going to Kansas City. Like I had a feeling like I said I could see him going there, and boom. But he, you know, and he taught me something about building a team. And the Eagles used that philosophy.
yep,
Both his and Ray Rose, it was to build through the trenches, your offense and your
yep.
defensive line. So yeah, I like that list, Joe. I will put him with those guys
Yeah,
for sure.
and the interesting thing about some of the people you mentioned with the quarterbacks and everything is too, within that list of coaches, you'll notice that those coaches have like a litany of coaching tree that goes extends outwards.
Right, right.
And someone like Andy, who came from the Mike Holmgren coaching
Same
tree,
deal.
he groomed his own coaching tree where you had someone like a Sean McDermott and a John Harbaugh and a Jeff Fisher and the list
The
goes
coach
on.
for the Commanders,
Yep,
um,
of Ron
um,
Rivera.
Ron Rivera, and then with McDermott, Frazier is his
Yep,
defensive coordinator who was
yep,
with us.
yep.
Those guys, I remember those guys were like linebacker coaches, and they groomed. So yeah, his tree and those guys are successful, man. Good
And
for him.
let's not forget Dougie P.
Dougie P.
Doug Peterson was his assistant coach in Kansas City and was a quarterback under
Right, he
Andy
groomed Dougie
with
too.
Donovan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he brought Dougie over to
Yep.
give Donovan that bridge to get right. Yeah, I was. Listen, man, you can't not. Nah, Andy's a great coach, man. And I know we'll get into X and O next week. I got a question real quick for James.
Sure.
You were at the game.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Joe, if you mind. And so the play, and listen, and going back to Jalen, I think his shoulder and then timing, because he never overthrows AJ Brown. But the pass to
Devontae
Devontae
Smith.
when he catches it, I caught it on the first replay, Joe. I knew he dropped it when I saw it. I said, "Oh snap!" But here's the thing, James. One, did you see it in real time? And then two, give him credit when he does this. That meant he knew everybody line up now.
Yep. I actually saw that, and I absolutely lost my shit, to be perfectly honest with you, brother. I was like saying, holy shit, I was like, how the hell did he catch that? And then the way they got back to the line was like, it was a miracle. It was fantastic, man.
What they did was what Sirianni talks about. They practiced that. So he knew he caught it. Great catch. But
yeah,
going
man.
down, the ball hits the ground. So instead of second guessing, that meant I had gone to my buddy's house after the game. We watched the Bengals Chiefs game, and I said, and we were talking about the play. He was excited. I said, he's a fireman. I said that play is just equivalent to you when you hear the fire bell. Stop what y'all doing. He said, "Damn, you're right." I said, "Yeah," because they knew. Oh snap! Go to the line now.
Yep.
And he did that. I said, "Oh, kudos to them." Now everybody wants to get mad at Shannon because they didn't see it, but the Eagles were smart enough to know. And Devontae, and once they hacked it off, it was too late.
Yep.
And it's amazing to me because some of the people, and I know I was kind of one, but some of the people that like shortchange Nick Sirianni and what he brings to the table as a coach. And we've gone and beaten this drum a couple different times. Nick Sirianni can't focus on the fundamentals like that in practice without taking the play call responsibilities away from himself. Because he won't have time. He wouldn't have time to go over that, to come up with that in order to emphasize that. He would be too bogged down with, I got to get the play calling in. He's like, listen, I need to be the team manager. I need to be able to say, okay, if this happens, we have to do this. And understand, that is not just intelligent, because I've heard the word intelligent being thrown around this week, but it's savvy. It's just like, you can't, that's not learned. That's just, a know-how to say, we got to be ready when that moment comes. And for Devontae to go, my pride says I caught it because I'm such a great receiver. He's like, no, I didn't catch it. Let's go. Right. On the ball.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
on that line.
Yeah.
And Joe, too, real quick to your point, it's not only get on the line, let's go. The coaches have to see it, James, to get the play in at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Like, they all had to catch that, from the coach to Jalen, had to see him do that and say, go. All right, boom, this is what we hitting. Let's boom.
Well,
and it didn't like take like a long time to get the play in. They just like boom,
they went automatic. They didn't all have to be lined up, set. Remember, fellas, they got to set because you don't want no false starts.
Right. Well, there's an interesting interesting tidbit about that, because you guys bring up about getting the call in.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Sirianni has gone on record on Angelo Cataldi's show saying that Jalen, they practice
Right.
5 set plays a week.
Okay.
That when that sort of situation happens, Jalen has 5 different plays to choose from.
He already knows it. Okay.
And they go up, and there's a call sign. When Jalen calls out the call sign, everybody knows what that play is. And so the coach, again, this goes back to trusting your players
Mm-hmm.
and team managing.
Yeah.
That Jalen, like Sirianni knows, okay, Jalen knows which plays I would want him to run.
Yeah.
Now, he has a choice of 5 plays. He could still pick the wrong one, and there could still be a false start. There could still be a lot of things. However, Nick has enough faith in Jalen that he's going to, settle the troops down.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the difference. Jalen is a young, goes back to my mentally strong.
Mm-hmm.
When those kind of moments happen in a game, you have seconds to react, not minutes, seconds. And Jalen reacts to his player, his teammate, that's telling him to get on the line. Then it's up to Jalen to organize everybody on the line within seconds.
Yeah.
And get the play in and off.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do. I've seen guys like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. I've seen these wily veterans like that people would put ahead of Jalen mess that up.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen seamlessly did this. And I'll be honest, and I know we'll get into predictions and breakdowns for the game next Saturday, but this is one of the reasons for a long time I have felt like Jalen is the type of quarterback we've been waiting for in this city for a very, very long time.
I agree.
Definitely.
And, I'll also go, before we get out of here, there's a rumor. Also,
I love your rumors, dude.
There's a
I'm not
rumor
kidding you. I'm not kidding you.
that
Super Bowl
Carson Wentz may be cut from the Commanders. And I said this to James. I'm gonna so I kind of swallowed my pride about Jonathan Gannon. I'm also gonna say something that I never thought I'd say on this show. I feel bad for Carson Wentz. I really do.
Dude, no.
Because the guy got gypped of $30 million guaranteed next year because they didn't play him in the last game. He would have got $30 million guaranteed if he would have played in the last game of the season. They told him not to show up.
Damn.
They told him to stay home.
Damn.
And so I'm like,
Oh,
I
man.
feel bad for him. So now
Man.
with no guaranteed money, he's easily cuttable. And so
Wow.
I feel like the Commanders are going to either go, you're looking at someone like Derek Carr. If the Ravens don't franchise tag Lamar
Well, they
Jackson.
told me to talk to other teams. They said Carr can talk to other teams. I just came across this morning.
Yeah. And, well, that was another issue. Derek Carr was told that certain things by management, that certain things were going to happen. And he said, you got to trade me by February 13th or I get $100 million.
Well, no, you know what's going to go down too? The couple of things. I don't know what to feel for Carson or Ben Simmons. I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason I say that because they both played for my teams and they had such promising careers, but their attitudes is just diminishing their careers right before our eyes and unfortunately not before theirs. But with that said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders get one of those quarterbacks out of San Francisco.
Well, Brock Purdy's out for a year. And I think if
Scratch
they
him
get
off.
if they get Jimmy Garoppolo, see, I
No, it came up to Jimmy G. I think that's a done deal. I don't think
I-
Jimmy goes back there. I think that's over.
I kind of disagree. I think Jimmy G ends up in the Jets. I think he goes to New York.
Oh no, I can see that. Yeah, I don't. He's not going back to 49ers. Yeah, okay.
Right. He's
Yeah, I can
not
see
going
that.
back
You know
to
what?
the
I can see him
Niners.
with the Jets. I
Yeah.
can see him with the Jets. Yeah, I can see.
I
that.
can see that.
Because I think he would be perfect. He would be a stable, and again, game managing quarterback, and that's what they really need, honestly, because
not
they're
gonna
still
hurt them.
growing.
He's not going to hurt them.
No,
Mike thinks Carson's going to go to Carolina.
Nah, Mike Carson's a backup at this point.
Yeah, I don't think he's
what?
coming back. I think he's going to retire.
you think Frank Wright wants to deal with that headache again?
Yeah.
Oh God.
No, he's a backup. He may start in the CFL, but he's a backup in the NFL. Yeah, that's how it's going to go down.
Stay tuned. You might see him in the CFL or the USFL.
Yeah. USFL.
Or the XFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, the XFL. Yeah.
Charmin
Good
hate
stuff.
me.
Yeah,
No,
Sure.
unfreaking believable. Kudos.
no,
Hey,
I mean,
Charmin hate me.
yeah.
so
I mean, that's for another
Oh,
show, Joe.
man.
Joe, how we didn't talk about this, and we'll talk. How we saw something for him to draft Jalen, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
well, yeah.
How he will never tell us. How, you know what? You could give Howie a fifth of vodka, and he'd never tell you the truth, because that's just how he is. He's gonna keep it close to the vest. But he saw something that made him draft this young man that we have as our quarterback now.
Well,
Howie's
I
a
think the
smart
big
dude.
difference is that he probably heard. You know, it's interesting. Dave Dombrowski said something in the beginning of the season, and he I didn't think I'd hear from a GM, but I mean, because usually, like you're saying, Dame, GMs usually keep things kind of close to the vest. He outwardly said that he's in that clubhouse and he's not liking the way it feels. Like he didn't like the feeling, the camaraderie of the team. And this is a guy who worked his ass off to get the people that he put in that clubhouse in there. And so when he had to figure out, well, who is it? Is it the players or is it the manager? Well, clearly it was the manager. So in Howie's perspective, I think he saw or heard the things that were going on in the locker room with Carson and was like, well, I can't outright cut him because then people are really going to ask questions.
Right.
And I can't outright trade him because, again, people are going to ask questions.
Right.
But I got to get an insurance policy in case this guy completely blows up.
Right.
And Jalen was the best insurance policy for the position and the spot where we got him. And I know a lot of people are like, well, he got drafted way too high. Are you still saying that at this point? I really
he actually thought he was going to go to Pittsburgh himself.
Well,
because he met with
there was claims that he was going to go to Pittsburgh or New England.
Yeah, or I heard New England too. Yeah,
and New England drafted right behind us in that slot.
They did.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember that either. But now Joe said it, I'm like, they did. Like, wow, they did. Okay.
Because New England traded up, I think 2 picks after our pick of Jalen, and when that trade executed, it almost like made up Howie's mind. Like, okay, I know what you're doing, but I'm not falling for that. And so when, like, ideally, if Jalen would have been there in the third, because I go back to like this past draft with Nakobe Dean.
Right.
If Nakobe Dean was there in the third round, Howie's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, yes, go draft him. Like, of course, I'm not an idiot.
Same with Dickerson. With Dickerson. People didn't want to touch Dickerson because of the knees.
Right. And the
Howie's like, yo, he's sitting here. This is after he drafted Devontae. He's like,
okay,
medical team, all right, cool, let's go.
Right.
Let's grab him.
And so, like, that's the difference. So, like, with Jalen, people were, like, scrutinizing, okay, why is he getting him when he has Carson? I mean, even Al was on this network on that show calling it the quarterback factory. Yes, but think about what a factory produces. It produces product after product after product until you get to a quality product. We produced product after product after product, from the Kevin Cobbs to the AJ Feelys to the Mike McMahons. All these different products until we
Wow.
got to
And
something
Mike
that was
Kafka's. We
tangible.
drafted Mike Kafka.
Mike Kafka
Yeah.
too. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's
So,
about to be a coach.
and Nate Sudfeld, like
The Sudfelds.
we drafted all these guys to do this product search, and we
Oof.
finally got to that gem, that diamond. And yeah, I get it. People at the time were like a second round pick on
Because
for
they
Jalen
thought,
Hurts.
wasn't there a cornerback we were looking at that people thought they were going to get in that spot? I think it was a cornerback they were looking at.
Yeah.
I forget who it was. And it was like, I was shocked.
I think it was the guy that eventually went to the Packers. But
Was Saul Douglas?
No, we got
no.
Rasul.
That
We had
that was before.
You know,
Oh, okay.
He was already in the league.
he was already in
it's
because
the guy,
Rasul has a ring. He's on
Yeah.
that championship Super Bowl team.
it's the guy
Yeah.
that actually is pissed off at the Packers and wants out too on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
he-
think
he's
they thought he was going to grab him.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing is like I kind of debated with Fred that night that, you know, I get it. You would rather have picked him in the third round, but what if he wasn't there?
He wouldn't have been there. 'Cause
Right.
Belichick would have snatched him.
Belichick or the Steelers would have snatched him.
They were there.
And then you would have been like, well, now we don't have an insurance policy.
And here's the other thing. You know how it works, Joe. And I know we got to wrap up soon. You know how it goes because Howie hears that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the Dallas Goddard deal, James. Howie heard that. Let's go up and get him before Dallas Cowboys get him.
Yeah.
So he hears that rumble and he goes, we got to get him now. We got to get him now. He calls Jeffrey, we got to get him now. And that's what happened.
Listen, as much as some people on this network, like Matt Benarchek, you know, might say that Howie needs to go or fire Howie, you know, there's not many GMs in this league that have taken a franchise back to a Super Bowl after firing their head coach and their starting quarterback.
And
It's
flip
just
the
not.
roster.
Yeah.
And flip the roster.
Like, there's just not. I mean, you know, you could argue the Giants, but that would be a futile argument.
And I always forget this guy. It was Barnett, Cox, Kelsey, Lane Johnson, and BG, and I think the kicker. They're the only ones remaining from the Super Bowl.
There's 7. There's Lovato, who's a special teams guy.
Lovato, yeah, I remember Lovato.
Barnett.
There's
I said
Elliott.
Barnett. I mentioned Barnett.
Cox.
Yeah.
BG, Lane Johnson,
Yeah.
and Jason Kelsey.
Jason
Yep.
Kelsey. Yeah, I mentioned Barnett. Yeah. It's good.
So, I mean, this crew, I mean, they're ready. I mean, there's young, vibrant talent in that locker room, along with veterans that have been there. And we how many times can we say that? And in this franchise history, how many times can we say that we have guys that have been to the Super Bowl before? Not many. And
well,
I mean,
if you want to add, Sue's been there. This is Sue's third time.
True. That's true.
I mean, but to your point, like, no, we got. That's another veteran that can go. Listen, guys.
Yeah.
This is what to expect.
Yeah.
You already got the in-house guys, the homegrowners that's been there, right?
Yep.
Now you got Sue. I mean, Slade's probably losing his mind. He's
Right.
probably like, Sue, remember we were in Detroit and we both dreamed of getting here?
Yeah.
Can you believe that, Sue? I can hear
Yeah.
Slade now. Can you believe that, Sue?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we're going to wrap up for today. But
Yes, sir.
listen, please, everybody subscribe on YouTube to EOP. Sign up for the newsletter, EOP.com, Edge of Philly Sports. Listen, this has been a great show.
Yes,
Next
it has
week's
been.
going to be even more exciting because we are going to be the lead up to the Super Bowl with your Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Listen, for my main man, James Scorza, Damon Salim, Tom Kelly, Frank Finnegan, I'm Joe Marks, and we are out. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.